Have you ever feared Monday more than unemployment itself? Not because you hate working, but because waking up feels heavier than it should. You fear opening your eyes in the morning, fear the sound of the alarm, fear the moment you have to sit up and step back into a life you are no longer sure you are building for any real reason. You're not hungry, you're not jobless, yet every night before sleep, your chest feels tight, as if something essential is missing. In the silence, questions creep in. How many years have I been living like this? Is this really all there is? Those questions rarely demand answers out loud, but they linger, quietly exhausting you. If they have ever crossed your mind, stay with this story until the end. And if you do not want to wake up to these thoughts alone anymore, consider subscribing now. Not as a habit, but as a small promise to yourself that even when life feels unclear, there are still paths ahead you have not yet explored. Our character is called Daniel. Daniel is 30 years old and works as an in-house marketing executive for a mid-sized e-commerce company. On paper, his life looks stable enough. His salary covers rent and basic expenses. The office is modern and comfortable. His colleagues are polite and friendly. From the outside, there is nothing obviously wrong. Yet Daniel carries a quiet problem that many people live with, but rarely admit. He feels himself slowing down while the world around him accelerates. Trends change faster than he can follow. New skills appear overnight. Job titles he barely understands suddenly become essential. Somewhere along the way, he has started to feel outdated in a role he once worked hard to secure. Every day follows the same rhythm. He arrives at his desk, opens his laptop, and begins working through tasks that no longer challenge him. He writes marketing copy based on briefs written by someone else. He manages small advertising budgets with limited freedom to experiment. He prepares reports, adjusts numbers, and sends updates that feel increasingly routine. He does his job competently. No one complains. But deep down, Daniel knows something unsettling. Almost anyone with 2 weeks of training could step into his role and manage just fine. That thought stays with him, even when he tries to ignore it. One Friday afternoon, just as the office energy begins to soften into weekend mode, an internal email notification appears. The message is brief and formal. The company announces an upcoming round of staff reductions due to restructuring and cost optimization. Daniel reads it twice. He is not listed among those affected. There is no immediate threat to his position. Still, something shifts inside him. For the first time in his life, Daniel feels a cold weight settle in his chest. Not fear of losing his job, but fear of what would happen if he did. He realizes that if his name ever appeared on such a list, he would have very little confidence walking into the job market. His experience suddenly feels narrow. His skill set feels thin. The sense of safety he believed he had begins to crack. That evening, Daniel opens LinkedIn. He scrolls through job postings, not casually, but with a tightening sense of urgency. Performance marketing roles demand advanced analytics knowledge. Data analyst positions require fluency in tools he has never touched. CRM specialist roles expect an understanding of customer journeys, automation, and behavioral data. The pattern is clear. Every role asks for practical technical skills rooted in data and systems, not just creativity or execution. Daniel closes his laptop. For the first time, he allows himself to admit that he is falling behind. He does not change his life immediately. There is no dramatic decision, no overnight transformation. What changes first is his sleep. He lies awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying the same thoughts. How long can I stay relevant like this? What happens if the next email includes my name? How did I let myself drift into comfort without preparation? One night, exhausted by his own thoughts, Daniel asks himself a simple question. If I spend 2 hours a day scrolling through my phone, why can I not spend 1 hour learning how to protect my future? The question does not inspire him. It challenges him, and that makes all the difference. Daniel sets his alarm for 5:45 in the morning, not to chase success, not to reinvent himself overnight, but to escape the growing sense of uselessness pressing against his chest. The first mornings are uncomfortable. The room is quiet. His body resists. His mind searches for excuses. Yet he sits at his desk with a cup of coffee and begins. From 5:45 to 6:45 each morning, Daniel commits to learning skills that match the reality of the modern market. He starts with Google Data Analytics, learning how to read user behavior rather than guess it. He studies advanced Excel and Google Sheets, by teaching himself pivot tables and dashboards and reporting structures that turn raw numbers into decisions. He learns GA4 and Google Tag Manager, tools his company currently outsources, tools he realizes give real leverage to those who understand them. There is nothing glamorous about these sessions. No motivational speeches, no dramatic breakthroughs, just quiet, focused learning. Daniel chooses these subjects for one reason only. If he lost his job tomorrow, he wanted skills he could immediately use to apply for another. Weeks pass, then months. Daniel does not become exceptional overnight, but something shifts. Numbers begin to make sense. Reports become clearer. He notices patterns others miss. At work, he starts asking better questions. When campaigns underperform, he no longer blames vague reasons. He looks for data. 3 months later, another internal email arrives. The company announces further restructuring. Some roles will be removed. Others will be consolidated. New positions will be created, requiring higher technical competence. Daniel feels the same tension rise in his body as before. This time, however, it is different. He is called into a meeting with his manager. For a moment, he assumes the worst. Instead, the conversation surprises him. Management has noticed that Daniel is the only person in the team who can independently build performance dashboards, interpret customer behavior data, and connect campaign results to revenue. They explain that they are creating a new role focused on marketing analysis. They ask if he would be willing to step into it. The position comes with greater responsibility and a salary increase of 35%. Daniel listens quietly. He understands something in that moment that no promotion alone could teach him. If he had not chosen to wake up earlier 3 months ago, this conversation would never have existed. He would have been invisible, or worse, replaceable. The work did not save him. The hours did. Daniel realizes that the true shift was never about waking early. It was about reclaiming time that had been slowly slipping away. Time that once disappeared into distractions now built skills. Time that once numbed his anxiety now prepared him for uncertainty. He still works hard. He still feels pressure. But each morning, before the world demands anything from him, Daniel spends time reinforcing his future. Not out of fear, but out of responsibility. And that is where his real transformation begins. 3 months later, another email arrives. This time, it appears on a Tuesday morning. No warning, no build-up, just a short subject line announcing further restructuring. The company explains that several positions will be streamlined, while new roles will be created for employees with higher level skills and broader responsibility. Daniel reads the message slowly, feeling the familiar tension return. The office feels quieter than usual. Conversations soften. Keyboards sound louder. Everyone understands what emails like this usually mean. Daniel tries to focus on his work, but his attention keeps drifting back to the notification. He tells himself he is more prepared than before. He reminds himself of the early mornings, the hours spent learning, and the progress he has made. Still, doubt creeps in. Preparation does not eliminate fear. It simply gives fear less control. Later that afternoon, Daniel receives a calendar invitation. A short meeting, no explanation. Just his name and the name of his manager. His heart sinks. He assumes the outcome before it happens. He closes his laptop, straightens his posture, and walks towards the meeting room with a familiar sense of resignation. He believes this is the moment he has been anticipating and dreading at the same time. As he sits down, his manager looks calm. There is no awkward pause, no rehearsed sympathy. Instead, the conversation begins with an unexpected tone. They explain that during the restructuring process, senior leadership reviewed team performance in detail. They looked beyond surface-level output and focused on contribution, adaptability, and problem-solving. Daniel listens carefully, unsure where this is going. His manager continues, explaining that within the marketing department, only one person consistently demonstrated an ability to understand performance data, build independent dashboards, interpret customer behavior, and translate insights into action. That person, they say, is Daniel. For a moment, he is unsure if he has heard correctly. The room feels distant. His thoughts race ahead of the words being spoken. His manager goes on to explain that the company is creating a new role focused on marketing analysis, a role that bridges creative strategy with data-driven decision-making, a role that requires someone who understands both the business context and the technical tools behind performance. They ask Daniel if he would be willing to step into this position. The salary they add would increase by 35%. Daniel does not respond immediately. He sits still, absorbing the weight of what is happening. Not excitement, not relief, but recognition. Recognition of a quiet truth that settles deep in his chest. This moment is not accidental. It is not luck. It is not generosity. It is the direct result of choices made when no one was watching. He realizes that 3 months ago he would not have been considered. He would not have stood out. He would not even have been discussed. Without the early mornings, the learning sessions, the discipline to invest in himself when it was uncomfortable, this meeting would have been a very different conversation. Daniel accepts the role. When he leaves the room, the office looks the same. The desks have not moved. The lights are unchanged. His colleagues continue working as before. Yet something fundamental has shifted. Daniel understands that his position in the company has changed, but more importantly, his relationship with his own future has changed. That evening, he does not celebrate. He does not call friends. He does not post anything online. Instead, he goes home, prepares dinner, and sits quietly. He reflects on the version of himself from 3 months earlier. The man who felt replaceable. The man who feared emails. The man who avoided job listings because they exposed uncomfortable gaps. Daniel realizes that the most important transformation did not happen in the meeting room. It happened in silence. It happened when he chose to wake up earlier, not because it was impressive, but because it was necessary. It happened when he stopped hoping that stability would last and started preparing for change instead. The promotion is not an ending. It is a checkpoint. Daniel continues to wake early, not out of fear now, but out of respect for the process that brought him here. Each morning still belongs to him. He uses that time to deepen his understanding, refine his skills, and stay aware of where his industry is moving. He no longer measures his worth by his job title alone. He measures it by how adaptable he remains. He notices something else as well. While others react to change, he anticipates it. While others feel threatened by restructuring, he sees opportunity. Not because he is smarter, but because he has learned how to prepare before pressure arrives. Daniel understands that the second awakening is different from the first. The first awakening came from fear. The second comes from clarity. He no longer waits for warning signs to act. He no longer depends on reassurance from employers. He has learned that security is not given. It is built quietly over time. When another colleague later asks him how he managed to stand out during restructuring, Daniel does not give a dramatic answer. He simply says that he stopped using all his time to recover from work and started using some of it to protect his future. That sentence stays with him. Daniel knows that this moment could easily have gone the other way. The same email could have led to a farewell conversation instead of an opportunity. The difference was not talent. It was not intelligence. It was not motivation. It was consistency applied in obscurity. He understands now that careers are not transformed in moments of recognition. They are transformed in moments of private effort. The meeting only revealed what had already been built. As Daniel prepares for his new responsibilities, he feels something unfamiliar but welcome. Not confidence rooted in praise, but confidence rooted in preparation. The kind that does not disappear when circumstances change. This is the real turning point. Not the salary increase, not the title, but the knowledge that when the next shift comes, and it will, Daniel will not be waiting to be chosen. He will already be ready. Daniel still goes to work. There are still deadlines. There is still pressure. His life did not suddenly become easy, and his days are not free from stress. What changed was not the weight of his responsibilities, but the way he carries them. Every morning, before the world fully wakes up, Daniel owns a small space of time that belongs only to him. No meetings, no demands, no expectations, just quiet intention. That time is not used for daydreaming or empty motivation. It is used to build resilience, to sharpen skills, to prepare for changes that have not yet arrived. Slowly, deliberately, Daniel has been building armor for a future that once frightened him. You do not need to wake up at 5 in the morning. You do not need to copy Daniel's routine, but you do need one thing. A moment each day that you refuse to sell to exhaustion, distraction, or numbness. A moment that is protected, intentional, and honest. Because growth does not require dramatic transformation. It requires consistency where it counts. If this story caused a quiet discomfort in your chest, do not ignore it. That feeling is not weakness. It is awareness. And awareness is often the first sign that something inside you is ready to move. If this message resonated, consider liking the video, not as support for content, but as a reminder to yourself that meaning still matters in a noisy world. Subscribe to the channel if you want to be reminded, week after week, that you are not lost. You may simply have been standing still for longer than you realized. Sometimes, all it takes is the right moment to begin again. And if you know someone who often says they are fine, just tired, consider sharing this video with them. not as advice, not as pressure, but as quiet company. Because perhaps the next time they wake up, it will not be only to go to work. Perhaps it will be to step away from a life that no longer fits.